Hey, how you doing? I'm Eva, and what I want to talk to you today about is a subject that's very close to my heart, I would say. How do you let go of relationships or people who you've had a relationship with, but now you're doing your spiritual work, you're evolving, you're expanding, and you start to feel maybe they're out of alignment because I'm expanding so much, and perhaps they're not able to expand with me, or perhaps I became available to this understanding that the relationship was, maybe it was codependent, or or had a pattern and all of this. And as I've become more aware, I realized, this wasn't a healthy relationship and I have to let it go. Okay, so I know how heart-wrenching it can be to let go of relationships, especially with people that you love, but you also find that when you come back to a place of real unconditional love, you realize I'm willing to let these relationships go, even if they're hard, if it's the right thing to do. And so, I think there's never an easy way to reject someone, but when something feels like it's out of alignment, it's always going to feel like the right thing to let it go. And in the end, you have to remember that it's going to be the right thing for everyone, not just for you. It's the right thing for everyone to let it go. So this video is very much how do we let these relationships go in a way that everyone wins, and that we're doing it from a place of love and compassion and communication and honesty and sincerity, in a way that is very much not about creating karma, but allowing you to be the person that you need to be and able to say the things that you need to say to evolve and expand and do what is necessary in this lifetime. Which, if you're doing spiritual work, you're always going to find that at some point you're going to have to let go of some people that don't serve you anymore. Okay, so I allow God to come through me, and yeah, that's really just going to come through now. Okay, hey, I'm God. How are you doing? I'm always coming through Eva, but I like there to be a little bit of a distinction in the energy. And this is such an interesting subject, because you really can feel that as Eva's talking about it, there's still some unresolved issues there. So I don't want to negate that. I want to be able to say to Eva, you still got some unresolved issues, some unresolved issues there, but it's okay. It's really okay to say that. We'll continue to create more content around this as those situations are evolved, because what I would say about Eva is she's let go of a lot of relationships throughout this lifetime in so many ways, and it really is heart-wrenching when you have to let go of people that you really, really love, but it's for the highest for everyone involved. And Eva's always come to that point that she's able to see it's for the highest of everyone involved, but there's still a little bit of, heartbreak there, and that will just heal. That will just heal in time. So I don't want to not mention that, because I think that that's a really important point to note, that there's still, loss that comes with this type of journey where you're expanding, you're evolving, and you're going to let go of people who don't serve you anymore, because until you are your highest expression, you're going to find that people come into your life that maybe there was an interaction where, oh, we have an old pattern, it's come up and la la la, and then I expanded and I don't have those patterns anymore, but this person has this pattern. And what you'll find is that, you're going to have to just say, bye-bye. You're just going to have to say bye-bye and continue to rise. And until you're really, really there on your, I'm feeling my real deal self, which is, your spiritual self incarnated into human form, much less human, you're going to find that there'll be relationships that come and go. In the end, they most likely will have to go, because when you are your highest, you're going to meet really the people who are meant for you in the way that is good. That's not to say that you won't keep any relationships. You absolutely will, but I'm just letting you know. There's a dog that just chased a squirrel. We're talking about relationships and odd relationships, and I think the animals very much are able to communicate it easily. But sometimes there's going to be these weird relationships that don't work. Yeah, a squirrel and a dog, it doesn't work for them to have a relationship. So, how do you do this in a really kind way? I would say number one, and I'm just gonna make 3 points on this because we will come back and do another video on this. But the first point is be really honest with yourself first before you even get into any communication. Really be honest with yourself first. Don't go into a communication when you haven't been there with yourself. Yeah, if you are able to say to yourself, you know what, this relationship doesn't work and this person is really annoying me and they're really annoying me and I can't be friends with them anymore because they're such a problem for me and they're such an issue for me. That is not the real you. The real deal you eventually will come to a conclusion that, you know what? Yes, I have expanded and I've evolved and I understand that this person is unhealed and they're still operating in a vibration where they're unable to get out of the patterns that they're doing and they're not able to show up in a way that is safe and loving for myself. And as I've evolved, I don't want to have those kind of relationships anymore. I don't want to have those kind of relationships, but I completely recognize that maybe I got into that relationship at a time when I was very much operating in that way, in a very codependent, unhealthy way. And now it's just simply a case of I healed and I don't want to have that relationship anymore because I would have been destructive to that person also. I would have been toxic to that person also. And I don't want to continue being toxic to them. Yeah, I don't want to continue to be toxic to them because it's going to keep me in a space where I'm not able to evolve and expand, especially if those, relationships are so tight, that we're so used to operating in that way. It's going to be very triggering if I'm trying to leave that kind of toxic relationship to continue in it, So the real you is just going to be very honest in that way. But if you're very much, pointing fingers of you're annoying and it's you and you're frustrating and there's no responsibility of, well, I got into that relationship when I was in a bad place and now I've evolved and healed and expanded and I understand that I'm a little bit unstable in that energy, so this is not going to be good for me and I don't want to be toxic for this person either. Really, it's a win-win. We got to just bounce away from each other. You want to work through all that by yourself. Yeah, you don't want to go to them or I'm going to let you go in a place of I'm still pointing fingers. And I don't want you to feel bad. You're pointing fingers, go for it. Really go for it. You done this and you done this and you done that. I want you to express, you have to have it out, yeah? You have to have that expressed with me. God, talk to me about it, have a conversation, say, you know what, God, this person really is a motherfucker. They do this, and when they do this, and when they do that, go through it all, and at some point you're going to find that you can't go through that anymore. And it's okay. Maybe they really did do stuff that got on your tits. Maybe they really did, and it's okay. Go for it. Go for it. I want to hear every complaint you have, and at some point you'll say, you know what, okay, I got it all out my system. I don't have to communicate that to that person because it's not going to be beneficial. That's just the stuff that really fucking annoyed me that I never expressed with them. And at the point that you're done with expressing that, you're going to get to the real deal stuff, which is, I recognize that we're just out of alignment. And the only reason I got so annoyed with all that stuff was because I stayed in that situation way too long. I stayed in that relationship past the expiry date. So there was a lot of stuff that happened to annoy me until I said, you know what, I'm done. Okay. So again, the most important thing is that you're honest with yourself, that you express everything that you really need to express with yourself. And I want you to talk to me about it. Talk to God about it. Yeah. I said, just in case you think I'm saying talk to, Ever about it. You book a session with Ever, no worries. But otherwise, talk to me about it is what I'm saying, God. And that's going to be very, very important than saying, I'm going to talk to myself about it. You talk to yourself about it and you feel like God's not listening. I don't want you to feel that way. Express yourself to me. Let me know everything. God, this person really annoys me when they eat. They just, it's the most annoying thing. I want to kill them. Get it out. Get it out. At some point, you continue to have these kind of conversations with me. What I'm going to do is transmute these things for you. Yeah, you're making it very intentional that I'm talking to you, God, about all this stuff that annoys me. I'm going to transmute it and heal it for you. Yeah, we just want to out, not repress. That's all it is. It's not for you to spin off on these tangents for years. They are tangents, but it's so that you're not keeping the energy in you, that I can heal it and transmute it for you. And I will, as long as you're talking to me, you're very, connected to me and saying, God, I'm going to tell you all this stuff. Can you transmute it for me? I'm going to transmute it anyway and heal you. But you want to have an idea of what I'm doing when we're doing that, okay? And then when you're ready, you've been honest with yourself about, oh, I'm really honest that this person annoys me. I'm really honest with this, and they make me feel like this way. Eventually you're going to come to a point also where you say, you know what? Maybe the real me needs to be really honest now. That was kind of like the low vibrational me being honest. Now I want to know, what is the higher me saying? Because the higher me is going to say, honestly, all it is we're out of alignment. We've got past the expiry date. It's win, 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 win everywhere if we let this relationship go. And I'm going to have a communication with them when it's available to me. And, God, I know you're going to let me know when that is. I'll just know, God. But if I don't know, tell me. Yeah, but you don't need to say all these things. But you also do, you want to have a very expressive communication with me about, I want to know when the time is right. I don't want to force this. So I don't want you to force conversations with people, but you'll just know when the time's right, when you've been communicating with yourself and you've been communicating with me, you're going to get to a point where you're able to have a communication that maybe the relationship's out of alignment. And that's going to be very much, the third thing I want you to think about, which is when the time comes, you'll know it. You'll be like, this is the time to have a conversation about the difficult thing we were going to have. You'll just know. So that's the third thing. The first thing is really being honest as your low vibrational self. If that's where you're at, that's fine. But we want to get all the information out there and transmuted and healed. Then the second level of honesty of the higher self. What is my higher self saying? My higher self saying out of alignment, going to be win-win-win for us to let it go. And then the third level of, okay, I'm ready for this communication. I'm ready to have this conversation. And God, you're going to tell me when it is. And I'm just going to know this is it. We got to have a communication. And it's going to be really obvious to you. And then you're just going to say, you know what? I love you, but I know this is out of alignment now. And if there's anything you need to say, no worries, say it. Just say it. Because it's better out than in. But let me tell you that when you do the better out than in, and you haven't got to the higher level within yourself, you're going to say all the stuff that you later see that it didn't really get you anywhere. Yeah, if it's all about, I got to criticize you and point out your patterns and point out all this stuff about you, you're later going to find, that never really worked so well because it was unnecessary. It was just the lower part of me feeling I have to, really say something that doesn't really get me anywhere. If I can eventually get to a place within myself, rather than I have to get to that place with someone else, when you have to have these communications of, I'm going to get to a place of real honesty with someone else, you're most likely going to offend them a lot along the way. So I'd rather you transmute and heal and wait for that available time of having the communication than you had to point a lot of fingers first and then realize that you had to point it back at yourself. Yeah, this is a me problem every time. Okay? Doesn't mean they don't have responsibility to take, but you can't control people. So that's the final thing I want to say. You can't change people. You can't control people. So don't bother. Don't have this communication to try and change someone. All you're doing is having a communication of, this doesn't serve me anymore. And if it doesn't serve me, I know it doesn't serve you. And I'm willing to let it go because I love you. Yeah, whatever way that is right for you, I'm willing to let it go. Okay? So, once you do that, there can be a little bit of heartbreak, but the heartbreak is normally because you didn't do it right. The heartbreak is normally that you didn't go through those stages. Maybe I pointed a lot of fingers and my heart breaks because actually I need to, do more of that first stage or more of the second stage. And I need to transmute more with God before I have that conversation again with someone. You understand? Maybe I didn't do it quite right. Maybe that's where the heartbreak is because maybe I offended that person too. So that's why Eva's got a little bit of heartbreak because, she didn't have these stages yet available, but you have them available to you. You know, so the heartbreak really, when you go through all these stages, you're not going to experience the loss in the same way. You know, it's a very loving way to let go of a relationship that doesn't serve you. It's not going to feel like I lost something. It's going to be very much like I gained something, like I was really loving in the way I was able to end this relationship. You know, and I want to be very clear about this. When you're having these types of conversations with people, you know, you may come across maybe they'll come back on my path in a month or two. You know, maybe this is temporary. Maybe it's, you know, and what I want to, you know, reflect back to you is, well, is your change temporary? Is this transformation you're having temporary? Because that's the only reason it'll be temporary, is if you're having a very temporary transformation and then you decide in a month or two, you know what? I don't want to have this transformation. I'm going to go back to the past. Yeah, so as hard as that is to receive, if you're having this kind of conversation where you're saying you're out of alignment, it's most likely that it needs to be done. You know, there's plenty of other people, because people don't change. And if you're really, you know, changing, I'm going to say the point at which you really change is when you're incarnated as your true self. That's when you're really unchangeable. But until then, you're going to find that if you go back into these relationships, they trigger an old part of you that just does the same thing all over again until you're fully incarnated as your true self. Yeah? So that's why it's better to say, you know what, I really let these relationships go. Then when I'm my true real self, well, you know, you're just not going to have that relationship with that person. You attracted them in a very different space. Yeah? And when you're your real self, you're just going to go for it with the people who are meant to be with you. And you're never going to question those relationships. And you're definitely not going to go back to the ones that didn't work. Okay, I hope this has been a helpful video. I know it has been. I know it's been a helpful video to you. So, you know, please share with me where it's going. You need help, you need support, you know, you want to book a session with Eva. You're booking a session with both of us. You know, you need support in working out some of this stuff, in transmuting or healing before you have those conversations, then book a session. You know, very much it will be available to you to work through it. But also it's available to you, you know, if you're working through it yourself. You just may not always be able to communicate with me in the way you would like, you know. If you're not able to channel, you may not hear every word that I'm saying. So if that's important for you and you're not channeling yet and you need to have the words that I'm saying to you, then these sessions are very good for you to be able to say, oh, what did God say? I think God told me to let this person go. And then you have a session with Ever and me. And I'm like, yes, I said, let them go. So you're most probably just needing some sort of, you know, validation in that. So again, I'm, you know, with that, trust yourself, but also, if you felt like I said, keep them in your life, I most likely didn't say that, and go have a session to make sure you understood, you know, because if you're already doubting the relationship, it's most likely needing to be released. Okay, so that's it for now. Have a wonderful life with good relationships. And if your relationships aren't good, start getting honest with yourself and going through this process. Okay, lots of love to you.